Hi, welcome back to the channel. My name is Mercy. Recently, I published a book, and there's so many lessons that I learned from this book. Um, some lessons were things that were important for me to know. Some lessons were things that I needed to know about myself that I had never thought of. But it was quite interesting, the things that I learned while I was doing the promotion for the book. One of the things that I was supposed to do I'm actually still supposed to do, was to go and give a talk somewhere. So I'm very good at public speaking, I think, but I've never had to do it on a very professional stage. I get like giving a presentation to, in this case, thousands of people. So I needed to be able to introduce myself in an elevator pitch in a way that I was comfortable. So what I did was I looked at my network and I remembered that there's somebody who actually does this for a living. She helps people with um, presenting themselves in an elevator pitch. And so I contacted her. Tatiana, who I am going to be talking to today, is an executive assistant. She's a PA. She has done she has worked in places that are so interesting. And one thing I think that makes her who she is I don't even think Tatiana tries to be anybody else. Tatiana is very comfortable with Tatiana. She try, does not even try to be anybody else. She's just herself. And so when we started talking about my book and how I was going to present myself, she asked me a question. She told me, Mercy, what's your superpower? And I think as an executive assistant, that is something that all of us know. We all know that is something that you do better than other people. And she was like, what's your superpower? If that was the only thing you could do, what would it be? And I kind of thought that I knew, but there's just something about how she asked it that made me have to really think about it. Who am I? Am I evolving? Am I changing? Am I still the same person I was 10 years ago when I started my administrative journey? Am I the same person I was 20 years ago before I was an assistant? I needed to know more. And so that is the reason why I figured this would be a perfect person for me to interview when I want to talk about branding. So, branding is something that we think of when we think of companies. You think of Coca Cola and you're like, oh, yeah, the brand. Yeah, you're thinking of item. We hardly ever think of people as the brand. And then when we think of people as a brand, we always tend to think it's for celebrities. We don't think it's for regular people. But there's something that makes you you, and that is what the brand is. That is what we put in our CVs as um, your introduction, all this. These are all the things that we put. And we never look at it like that. We never think of it as something important. So let's me start my conversation with Tatiana, and then you can maybe see why I think this woman is awesome. Really, really awesome. Join us. So, hi, Tatiana.
Hi, Mercy. Thank you for inviting me.
Okay, so as we had discussed, I would like to
Mhm.
interview you for this series that I'm doing about being an extra, an assistant. And who are we? Are we just supposed to be the silent backbone at the back? Or can we actually grow into something and have our own other things? And how do you stand out when you're not supposed to be standing out?
Mhm.
Okay. So tell us about your journey. Who is Tatiana?
Oh, Tatiana. So to start with, actually, I was not predestinated to be an executive or private or personal assistant, whatever assistant. I was supposed to be pianist.
Mhm.
I was doing the studies to become a pianist, but then when I was very young, I was actually 17 years old, I had my first child. So that's why my journey became quickly, my main role became mother. So, and afterwards, when my daughter went to school, I decided to continue my studies and become a teacher of English. That's how I started. And then after the university degree, I was the best of my promotion. I received an offer to become a secretary in a small company that were working in Russia. I was living in St. Petersburg at the time, was doing some business with the people from outside of Russia. And as I was very good with my English, they wanted me to join them. But at the time, I didn't want to become a secretary. You know, one of these girls with the long legs who was serving the coffees, a little bit awkward for me. So, but anyway, I think, okay, I will make a try. And suddenly, um, I found myself a very nice environment, very friendly, had a fantastic boss, was calling me like 5:45 saying, Tatiana, 6, you have to leave the office. You have your daughter to care of. So actually it was very pleasant experience. And then afterwards I moved to Geneva and started to work here in the big trading companies. I actually worked for two of them most of all, Gunvor Group and Socar Trading. Fantastic professional and human experience. And now, actually, I'm trying to transmit what I learned in this field of industry as an executive and personal assistant to my junior peers who are very interested to become also the assistants in the big trading companies, on private banks, depends on their wishes.
Mhm.
That's about my journey.
Great. So it's good to see that you're transmitting what you have learned to the next generation because, I love mentoring and I believe it's our job to mentor the next generation.
Mhm.
So let us talk a little bit more about the next generation, right? So when we look at our network of assistants, most people who become support staff are people who like to be in the background. And over time, some people they lose their confidence. So when you're talking to these younger people or people who are new in their careers, how do you encourage them? What are the tips you give them that can help them in building their confidence so that they are not just somebody silent in the background?
Listen, first of all, it's not an advice. It's a really recommendation from myself. Be natural, be yourself.
Mhm.
Don't try to be Miranda Priestly from The Devil Wears Prada if you are not the personality of Miranda Priestly. Be yourself. Personally, for myself, I was never in the mainstream. Everybody liked pop or rock music. I like classics, and so on and so forth. So be natural, be yourself. Uh, I mean, maybe it's not easy to apply to certain roles, this advice, this word, but try to.
Mhm.
And also, maybe it's will be easy for you, maybe will be hard. Put your strongest point, the key point in front of you. For example, I'll give you an example. I'm a very quick learner, and at my first position, when I had an interview for a job, I very frankly told to my future boss, listen, I don't know anything about the job. I'm a pianist, I speak pretty good English, but that's all I can offer you. But if this honesty actually brought me to a progression in my role. So if you have any strong point, you are very empathetic, you are a good listener, you enter in the room and you could feel what is the atmosphere. These are very strong and important points when you are an assistant. So try to develop that. And also, when, for example, you have an important meeting, you would like to ask for promotion, for a bonus, or whatever,
Mhm.
to improve your maybe financial status. So prepare yourself. Preparation is always a key point. You don't wish to prepare it with your colleague. Prepare it with your pet, with your cat or a dog or with your mirror. It's a very simple advice, but try to put it in action and you will see how fantastic result it could bring to you.
That is really awesome. One of the best things that ever happened to me was when I stopped trying to be the perfect executive assistant and just
Uh-huh.
became the me assistant. Because when you talk about the strongest points, there are things that I am not the typical assistant in. They're just, I'm not very good at following structures, but I'm very good at finding weaknesses in structures. So
Mhm.
at some point, when I became an executive assistant, I remember one thing that I used to really like was discussing with my boss what can be improved. And I've come to realize that a lot of the bosses that I've had subsequently really appreciate the fact that I have that eye of noticing where improvements can be done. So normally I had a boss who said, if it can be broken, Mercy will break it. So so it was really, really good. And yeah, it's true. Find your strong point. Don't try to be anybody else. Just find your strong point. And
Mhm.
that brings me to my next question, which is about branding.
Mhm.
So, as you and I have discussed, I branded myself as the empathetic assistant who cares about mental health, who cares about growth of people. However, not every assistant or potential assistant thinks that they can create a brand because people think of branding as something very out there. What would you, as Tatiana, think about somebody saying personal branding? When I say personal branding, what does it mean to you?
Mhm. You know, if you asked this question like 20 years ago, I would say personal brand. It's like Giorgio Armani, or Versace, or Chanel, or Dior, or another very famous fashion. For me, I'm a girl, fashion brand. No. Now, personal brand. I have a cat, I have a cat, and this cat is very particular because she doesn't have the fur like normal cat would have. She
Mm-hmm.
needs some cashmere jumpers to keep her warm because she's a sphinx. So, this cat that maybe some people don't like because they feel like a bit ugly, she's very affectionate. But when you talk about personal brand, my cat also has her personal brand. Because when you talk about Lala, this Lala who's no fear, no, needs some jumpers, needs some extra care. So, and everybody has the personal brand in the sense it's what people talk about you and how you talk about you when you're not in the room. I
Mm-hmm.
remember like 2 years ago when I has received an offer, very nice offer from Socar Trading, one of the major trading houses here in Geneva. And actually, my ex-colleague was very, very curious and wanted to see if it was really me who started this job of executive assistant to CEO. And he came to the office, stand in front of me, and I was sitting together with my colleague. And he addressed himself to the colleague, saying, you're so lucky. Tatiana agreed to this job. You have really the pearl, the best ever executive assistant that this company can afford itself. I was a bit shocked in the sense I was sitting next to the girl and he was actually giving a lot of compliments to me, but addressing to her. But it's also sort of a reflection of the personal brand, what people are saying about you when you're not in, when you're not asking them to talk, to praise you or say
Mm-hmm.
something nice about you, what really they think about you. And also another part of the same story, it's how they feel with you, how they feel about you. They feel confident with you or they're afraid of you. For example, working with my multi-billionaires, when I used to work for two guys that they were part of Forbes 500, fantastic experience, unique. I really loved every day. It's, when you work for people like this, as if you have a coaching session with Tony Robbins every single day, even more than with Tony Robbins.
Yeah.
It's really a big, big privilege. It's about give and take, but also a big privilege. When you're working with these guys, I was really paying a lot of attention how I communicated, not only with them, but with their drivers, with the nannies of their kids, with the handyman, with
Mhm,
all these people that creating this ecosystem that helps these guys going up, up, up.
mhm,
Yeah, it's super important not only take care as an executive assistant of your boss, of your superior, but all the people around you, especially who are, would say, not at your position, but a bit, wouldn't say lower, at another level.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's super important.
Exactly. Because one of the things that maybe one day I will do uh, a podcast on is the
Uh-huh.
difference between the different types of assistants, because many people
Yeah,
do not know the difference between an executive assistant, a personal assistant, a team assistant. They're all filling calendars and booking flights. They don't realize the level that it goes into. And I was trying to explain to someone that that is even the reason why the salaries are different. And the
exactly.
requirements are different because
Yeah.
what a personal assistant does and the amount of emotion that goes into it and the
Mhm,
amount of engagement that you have to have on the day to day with these people,
mhm,
it's
mhm,
just really, really crazy. So you've had a great career. You really have. Huh? Anyway,
mhm. Okay.
so let's talk about the executive assistant PA role, yeah?
Mhm,
So this is a very behind the scenes kind of job.
mhm,
And but you still have to build your own visibility and your
mhm,
own brand. How do you advise someone who is worried about that? Because some people, I've had a mentee who told me that she was worried about making her brand obvious and even thinking about her brand because she felt like it will look to her bosses like she is not happy with her job. And I told her, if that is what your boss thinks, do you really want to be working for this kind of person? But that was a different conversation altogether. So how would you advise somebody who wants to build their brand, but they have to also stay in the background?
mhm. Uh, you know, started this job, first my position of assistant to CEO working in the beginning of the 2000 in St. Petersburg in Russia, in completely different environment.
Mm,
Naturally, I brought all my experience, my life experience to this role. And I'm sure you will agree with me. When you're doing this role, you're really bringing all together. That role's really a unique opportunity when you can collect and mix all your experience, life, professional, whatever, together. And actually, my vision was also I'm behind the scenes. I should be invisible. Not the same story. Being
mm,
behind the scenes, for example, in the Hollywood movie, doesn't mean that you will be invisible. No, 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 not at all.
mhm,
The actors are in front of and everybody is looking at them, but all the team, big, big team, they are behind the scenes. So don't confuse yourself with behind the scenes equal invisible. Not at all.
mhm,
Also, being behind the scenes doesn't mean that you are dedicated your life, entire life to your work, meaning that you are available 24/7. Not at all. It's about putting boundaries, about, first of all, respect yourself, and also to put it clear in front of the boss that you're a human being, he or she is a human being, and you are equal. This is a major and I would say key point. Many people, especially working with high profile individuals, thinking where they are, where I am. No, you're like this. You're working always like this. That's the
Mm.
main point. Even if you're super young, you're 20 years old, you're just starting. Please, you're going to the bathroom, and he or she is also going to the bathroom. Don't forget about that. You
Exactly.
need to eat to have some energy. You need to eat to have some energy. He or she needs you in the office because without you, he will be really stressed with all these multitasking things that you are doing. So, really a key point. And also, if we are really digging inside these questions, I would advise to your audience, your dear people who are looking and will be watching this podcast, there is a very interesting concept that I'm using every day, and I believe you are doing the same. It calls managing up concept.
Mhm.
It's not me who invented it, but it is about that your boss and you as an assistant has a common goals, and you're going all together,
Mhm.
you know, towards these goals. It's
Yeah,
not like he's going and you're behind him going. No, you're together
going
going
together.
to
Yeah.
this goals. And this is also a key point that you have as an assistant keep in mind.
I think that is an awesome thing for people to think about because we tend to think a lot about being in the background. When I wrote the book, The Silent Backbone, one of the things that people kept telling me was, at the end of the day, it is not the assistant running the company. The pressure is not on the assistant. Why are they getting burnt out? And I kept telling them, you know, we actually do a lot. Not the same salary as the CEO, of course, but
Mhm,
we are really, really holding things together.
mhm,
And a good executive knows that. Most good executives will tell you, I am lost without my assistant.
mhm,
So it's just, I thought there was this day we were having a staff meeting and our CEO, we have two people who shares the same name. And our CEO kept asking, one of them is his assistant and the other one is in a different department. And he kept asking, but he kept saying the same name. And then the one who was not his assistant is the one who responded. And he's like, no, 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 I'm asking for mine. And I think many people did not realize it, but me as an assistant, I felt it and I was like, that is a good executive because he owns her. She is mine. I know I'm lost without her. So I totally loved that. And when you look at like when they're giving town halls and when a question comes, they turn and look at their assistant. It's one of
mhm.
those things the assistant knows. So this is all to just encourage the future upcoming assistants that I love the way you put it, that you are behind the scene, but you're not invisible. I think honestly, I am going to go with that philosophy. Behind the scene, but not
Mhm,
invisible. Anyway,
mhm.
so that's all for my questions. Do you have anything you would like to say just to wrap up this session on branding that you feel if you do not say, you would not be happy with yourself?
I would really, I would like to thank you for this interview. It's very interesting, all this to share with your peers and with you, very engaging executive assistant to work about what I love at my life, what is really a mission of my life.
Mhm.
And also, I would like to encourage the future assistant, executive assistant, personal assistants, business partners. Ladies and gentlemen, you are the part of this big business that is going ahead. You're not behind, you're together. And be yourself.
Totally love that. Thank you, Tatiana.